team of Ghostbusters that we really accepted.
Thanks. Yeah.
No, I mean, because we talk about. I know we're not going to get into the Kylie thing, okay?
Oh dear.
We're not getting into the Kylie thing.
Kylie,
right?
Gate.
Let it go, Eric.
Get water under the bridge. It's gone. We'll let it go.
Even last night I was on about Kylie.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You need to put the fins back on the Ecto-1 and you need to get Kylie back in canon.
Yeah.
Amnesia or something. Explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, seriously, Eric, it's like every time with Mark. Seriously, he doesn't stop.
But okay, so we know next year the two big things that IDW are going to do is the first thing you're doing is the X-Files crossover. Can you tell us a wee bit about this? Because this is fascinating us here.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It was. They do their little crossover event every year. IDW does, and this year, since X-Files is their new big property, they decided to go with that. Paul Crilly is the guy who is writing the bulk of the crossover, the bookends, and a couple of the one-shots in the middle. He came up with the whole basic story. It's something that ties all the one-shots together, an overarching plot. And, he gave me what he needed from Ghostbusters, and I added that. And the part of my story is I'm trying to think of how I can put this without spoiling too much of it. Something happens in the first bookend that necessitates the lone gunman to go on a bit of a cross-country search, not cross-country, an upstate search up the eastern seaboard. And they stop off first in New York to check out the Ghostbusters and that part of the story before moving on. And that's what we have here. We have the lone gunman from the X-Files visiting the firehouse and a little bit of mischief happening.
See, I genuinely, I love the idea of the lone gunman in the firehouse.
Yeah.
Like, that is so surreal.
It was bizarre to write, and it's just like, hey, there's something that says "do not touch." Let's touch it, and that's where we started our story off. So yeah,
I can just imagine Egon freaking out around the containment unit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, I'm not going to ask you any awkward questions here. I don't want to get you into trouble. But do you know the story? Have you, do you know where it's going regarding the other elements, Transformers, the Crow, Ninja Turtles? Do you know where they all fit into this?
I do. Like I said, Paul had come up with an overarching story of where each element was going to fit in with the other one-shots and what he needed from Ghostbusters. I mean, it was, here's what we need to happen, and I'd fill in the gaps. I filled in the gaps on that story and added the Ghostbusters elements to it. So yeah, I do know where the story is going, and actually I had it in front of me, but I didn't pay too close attention to the Ninja Turtles or the Transformers and stuff. I just I read the bookends and the Ghostbusters just so I could have that little bit of surprise when I actually read the crossover. But I did skim a bit. It's going to be different than the other IDW crossovers. It's not going to be like Infestation or the Mars Attacks. It's definitely going to be more of a cohesive story, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. Oh, that's a shame, because Mark, you really loved Infestation, didn't you? You thought it was one of the best crossovers ever.
I will not get into that. Let's just say I wasn't a big fan of Infestation. But no, the thing that I don't know if you remember, Eric, a few years ago there was a company very briefly, 88 miles per hour MPH, that did a Ghostbusters comic called Legion. Have you read it?
I have not read it. I've read about it, but I haven't actually gotten a hold of any of the issues myself.
Okay, well,
I haven't seen them. I was curious. I looked for them, but I haven't seen them. Yeah,
it's very hard to come by. But it's it's a pretty good story. But the element that's missing from it is the humor. It's a very straight-faced story. It's quite dark. It goes into the Ghostbusters' past, and they have a friend who basically evokes demons, and he sends them after the Ghostbusters, and it's quite a dark story. It's a good story, but it doesn't feel like Ghostbusters. They run around using mobile phones and stuff in it, and it just doesn't. It feels kind of weird. It's very, very serious. How does the Ghostbusters? Because X-Files, I'm a big X-Files fan. But it's very straight-faced. X-Files is it's dark, it's serious, it's very straight. Whereas Ghostbusters is slightly more lighthearted. Was it a challenge to gel the two together?
Well, in this case, I was more dealing with the lone gunman, and they are sort of they open themselves up more to comedy than. I mean, there's a light edge to the X-Files. There's some humor there, but you're right. It is more of a straightforward drama. But the lone gunman can be goofier. You can do goofier things. I mean, if you put Mulder and Scully in a room, they're not going to see something that says "Do not touch" and start poking it with a stick. The lone gunmen are, and that's what we did there. You know, they saw a trap that said "Don't touch." They touched it, and hey, there's a ghost, and you know, then we have a little bit of fun running around the firehouse. It wouldn't have worked with other characters. It works with them, so it was the perfect part of that mythology to bleed over into Ghostbusters, and it worked. They worked well together.
Okay, now the other big event, IDW released a few weeks ago. Was it about 3-4 weeks ago? A teaser of Ghostbusters Mass Hysteria.
Dogs and cats living together.
Mass Hysteria.
That's right.
They didn't say anything. There was nothing went with it. There was just this image. Now this came on sort of on the back of IDW's announcement that they were going to start getting into gaming. And into video games and stuff, and instantly everybody made the connection that Mass Hysteria was going to be like an online gaming event. And what is it?
MMORPG, massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Yes, and I don't know where this came from, and we even got sucked into this. We thought, right, that must be what it is, but we know now it's not. And I know, again, I don't want to get you into any trouble. Can you tell us anything about it?
I can tell you a little bit about it. Basically, when Tom and Bobby over in the Ninja Turtles decided to do an 8-part story with City Fall, I said, hey, that sounds like kind of a cool idea. That's, you know, a bigger story. I'd like to do one of those with Ghostbusters. And Tom said, okay, cool, go for it. Okay. And then I'm like, now I have to think of an 8-part story for Ghostbusters. But I do. I have an 8-part story, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring in another god. It's not going to be the same as Gozer. It's not going to be there to destroy the world. It's going to be a completely different thing, and we're going to be bringing in a bunch of stuff from the 30 years of Ghostbusters history peppered in, because it's going to be mass hysteria. It's going to be all about chaos, and the god of chaos in Sumerian mythology, goddess, I should say, Tiamat, is who we're going to use. I'll just spoil that now.
Ooh,
she's going to be in there shaking things up just because. Why? Because people, the human beings have defeated a god. They defeated Gozer, and then when I had them trapped in their little side dimension in the new Ghostbusters, they blew up a proton pack and got out of there, sent little ripples through the universe. Here's Tiamat over going, hey, that's kind of interesting. I think I'd like to check that out. Play with the Etch-a-Sketch, you know? So, I mean, that's what we're going to do there. That's a broad idea, Ghostbusters comic.
Maybe he has a milk bone.
There we go. That's it.
Well,
the last time I told somebody that, it says, "Oh man, now that you told me that, I kind of want to go play some Super Mario Brothers." Yeah. So yeah, it's yes, it's who you're thinking of. We finally got the okay to use them. So
fantastic!
Wow. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be nice to get one more piece of the mythology in, just as a nod, just for fun, for the 30th anniversary, and so I'm excited.
So is Mass Hysteria going to be? Is it going to be your 30th anniversary celebration, if you know what I mean? Or are you hoping to do something else later in the year? Or, I don't mean is this it, but I mean, is this what you're doing for the anniversary?
This is the big thing for the anniversary. We have a couple of other things that we'd like to do that we haven't been okayed on yet.
Okay.
If they okay those, then we'll make a big deal about them at that point. But right now, this is the thing that is for sure happening, and is for sure our 30th anniversary love letter to the Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. I hope we get to do more. I'd love to do more, but if this is it, this will be good enough for me.
Now, tell us a wee bit about where the Ghostbusters is at the minute. Because we have yet to see negative reviews. The fan feedback seems to be incredible. Are you happy where you are at the minute? Are you, is there anything that you would like to change? Or, do you just feel really good? You're in a really good place at the minute with Ghostbusters? Because I know the fan community is totally behind it.
Oh yeah, no, I couldn't be happier. I'm getting to tell stories that I'm having fun telling. A lot of humor in there, which I enjoy writing. Dan's doing I tell him to draw less sometimes, and he can't bring himself to draw less on the page. It's great. He throws so much in there. That's awesome. It's great working with him. And yeah, really, we're just having a blast getting to do everything. We're like, well, I'd like to do a ghost ship. Let's do a ghost ship. I'd like to do, the Day of the Dead. Let's do the Day of the Dead. Come on, nothing has been ruled out yet, and we're having a blast doing what we're getting to do. It's just been a nonstop bit of fun for the last couple of years.
Something occurred to me last night whenever I was chatting to you on Twitter. You were talking about. I'm not getting into the Kylie thing here, okay? I'm really
Mark,
not.
let it
I'm
go.
really not. I'm
Let it
really
go.
not. Right? But you were saying, look, it's an alternate timeline. Do you think that could be somewhere you could maybe explore down the line, that there are different versions of the Ghostbusters, alternate realities, different dimensions? Do you think that could be something maybe you could get into?
It's a possibility. That was one of the things we were talking about, maybe popping into mass hysteria. Don't know if we're going to get approved to do that yet, because I mean we have an overall story. The details have to be put into an outline and approved yet. I haven't done that yet, but the overall story, is we're happy with it now. Maybe we talked about throwing a nod in and sneaking in some real Ghostbusters stuff with some universe shaking up. That may still happen. It may not. I don't know yet. It is certainly something that would be fun to do for a story down the line. With the movie Ghostbusters meeting their real Ghostbuster cartoon counterparts, where the original Kylie came from, and that whole continuity. It is different. There's people have pointed it out. There's a lot of different just tweaks to the personality and the world and the feel in the cartoon version that just wouldn't work the same way in the movie version, and that would be a fun dichotomy to play with. If not in mass hysteria, then maybe down the line.
Now, you were saying that whenever you're introducing Tiamat in mass hysteria, that this came from as you say, the proton pack exploding whenever the Ghostbusters were whipped on away to the dimension a few issues back. Was that in your head at the time, or do you just think, oh, I know how this could happen?
Yeah.
So which is the latter? It's I know how we could do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in this case, it was not in my head to do it this way. It was one of those things where I thought we could use this down the road for something. And then this story idea came along. This is the perfect place to use it. That's happened a couple of times where we've just thrown something out there and it becomes something that we can use later. And sometimes it's absolutely 100% intentional, and other times it's just a happy accident. In this case, it was a happy accident. It's something that weaved together and made it stronger, and so I was happy for that. I would have still, I would have just gone with, if not for the exploding proton pack part, it would have just been, well, you guys, you blew up Gozer, you killed a god, I'm interested, let's play. I would have just gone that route, but this just adds to it and gives one more reason for Tiamat's interest.
Because we talked about this the last time you were on the show as well. Because one of the things that I do love about the way you write it is that you'll introduce something and then it kind of gets forgotten about, and then maybe 4 or 5 issues later it's back. And I love that. I love that sort of setting up little pointers and little things to keep in the back of your mind.
Oh yeah.
So I do. Whenever you said about the proton pack, guys, like, nah, he's at it again.
Mm-hmm, yes, and we're still doing that. We have in the storyline that's going on right now, the Happy Horror Days, because of some scheduling changes and not wanting Dan to or not wanting to have somebody else work on the story with Dan, I shortened issues 11 and 12 to 16 pages. Mm-hmm. And then we have a 6-page backup. And both of those backups are going to point to mass hysteria. They're going to be prequels. And we've got a bit in issue 10 that circles back around and becomes important in issue 12. A backup story, I should say. So yeah, it's always fun to sneak things in and seed forward. It's fun when people catch it too and notice that we did that. So yes.
Now, you talked about when you're introducing, you have a character that you're going to be introducing for the 30th anniversary, and you said about getting the rights to that character. Now, because we know with Matty releasing the toys and stuff, and real toys before that had tried to do it, and there are a lot of likenesses issues and stuff. Is there anybody that you would love to take into the continuity, but you just can't at the minute for various reasons, or you haven't been able to? Is there anybody out there that you want to write that's just not available yet?
that the two characters that weren't available